Eastern white pine. That's what they built Chicago with. They built the entire city of Chicago with Eastern white pine. For a video. Okay. Eastern white pine is the second most stable wood in the United States, available in the United States. The most stable wood, and timber framers agree with this everywhere, the most stable wood is Douglas Fir, which is another conifer, but it's from the West Coast mostly. We do have some in Michigan, but for us, our most economical, finest material for timber framing is Eastern white pine. It's not just pine. It's Eastern white pine, because not all pines are equal. Okay. Red pine is kind of iffy. It can move around. It'll shrink. It'll twist. That's what they build a lot of these cabins with that you see, and they have the big cracks in the logs. That's red pine. That's Eastern white pine. That's what they built Chicago with. They built the entire city of Chicago with Eastern white pine. Okay. It is the finest building construction lumber, in my opinion, next to Douglas Fir in the world. So if you have a choice, like if you go to the lumber yard, you got spruce pine fir, SPF, spruce pine or fir. Okay. And so that the reason they do that is because they want to mix the junkier stuff in. They want to mix spruce in there. They want to mix red pines, whatever else they can. They want to try to make it look like all this pine is created equal, but it's not. Eastern white pine is, here's your spruce, here's your Eastern white pine. It's up here as far as quality goes. Oak is, somewhere just above spruce, but Eastern white pine is up here. And for strength, that's another good factor, because oak is strong, but it's heavy. So white pine, and it's hard. White pine is strong. It's not as strong as oak, but it's light. So if your frame is built out of pine, it's a stronger frame. If your frame is built out of oak, it's not as strong. It's very strong, but it's not as strong because it has to support its own weight, its own large amount of weight. So ideally, I would build everything out of Douglas Fir, but Eastern white pine is what we have, and that is the best that we can get. It's not. I don't pick Eastern white pine because it's cheap. I pick it because it's the best that we can get. Okay. So it's not that. Even ash is viewed as a lower quality wood, but ash is better than oak. Elm is better than oak. Ash kind of has a tendency to check on the ends of it, so you need to seal the ends. White pine doesn't even do that. It doesn't check. It doesn't warp. It shrinks very little. Okay. It's just perfect for using. That's why we use it green. I know Eastern hardwoods best because that's what I've worked with all my life. So that's what I'm going to cover. If you have a southern hardwood forest or a southern pine forest, I'm really not familiar with that. So you're probably going to have to do some research online. But if you have a northern hardwoods, this is what you're likely going to have species like elm, ash right now because they're dying. Mm-hmm. Maybe in a few years you won't have any ash available, maybe less than a year. But anyway, use ash. If you've got ash, use it. But like I said, you got to paint the ends, sticker it up, make sure you give it a little time to season.
Even though they're dead?
Even though they're dead, they are very stable right now, but But yeah, still give it a little time to season. Maybe check it with a moisture meter. You probably will be okay if you just use it green ash right now.
Okay.
You'll probably be okay. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to cut it and start building because it's dry enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cocaine stop.
And then, so you can use oak. If you use white oak, if you have a few white oak logs, use those for either the posts or if you're going to do sill beams. Our designs don't have sill beams, so you don't really have to worry about that. But use them for the posts. Anything that might contact the ground, because white oak is very good, or is close to the ground, is very good at
resisting moisture? Or?
Right. White oak is very rot resistant. That's
Okay.
that's what I was trying to get at.
Okay.
So yeah, if you're gonna use white oak in your building, use it for the posts, maybe the girts. I wouldn't use them for purlins. You could use them for floor joists, siding. Really, you could use it for everything. You could build the whole barn out of white oak. You just gotta, treat it correctly. Handle the wood correctly. Elm is a very good one for tie beams. Elm, again, you can use it for a lot of different things. But if you have a mixture of species and you only have a few elm, you want to use them for your tie beams,
Okay.
your horizontal structures, because they have a lot of tensile strength. If you ever try to split a piece of elm, it's really hard to split because the grains are intertwined with each other like this, and they lock together. Okay. So when you put downward force on them, they have a lot of strength, a lot of resistance to that.
Okay.
So that's what the old timers used for their big tie beams, 40-foot long beams.
Okay.
Was they used an old piece of elm. Hard maple works good for posts and for floor joists. You can use it for tie beams as well. It's not as strong as elm, but it still works. You can use it for girts and purlins, siding, lots of different things. Soft maple, you use that for siding and for girts. Cherry, you probably should keep that for furniture because it's more expensive stuff, but you can still use it. It's for all the same uses that you use soft maple for. It's about the same.
So mixing species isn't necessarily a problem anyway.
No, that's what the old timers did. They mixed all the different species of hardwood. A lot of them used a lot of beech. Beech you got to be careful with though. You want to use it for posts or for maybe some floorboards. Like for the loft flooring, because beech does tend to split when it dries. So you got to be kind of careful with that. Maybe you want to dry that, sticker it up in a pile or in a stack for a few months before you use it.
So what did you say beech would be good for?
For like floorboards.
Floorboards.
Yeah.
Okay.
For like your hay mow.
For the loft.
Yeah. For
Okay.
siding and different things like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Roof sheathing, that type of thing.
You probably wouldn't ever use popple.
Yeah, you can use poplar.
Yeah.
Poplar is a pretty strong wood. It's very good. It does have a tendency to shrink. Hardwood shrinks more than pine does. So poplar is going to shrink more.
Well,
But
popple's a softwood.
it's a hardwood. It's technically a hardwood, but its strength properties are about equal to pine. So
Well, that's good.
yeah. So
What about the rotting?
yeah, you don't want to use poplar anywhere where you think you might get moisture.
Okay.
So if you use poplar, use it for interior wood. You can use it exterior, but just make sure you paint your barn or stain it. Or
Okay.
pine, you don't have to worry as much about it. But eastern white pine, you don't have to worry so much about it. But for poplar, you probably want to.
If you happen to
something
have
on
red
that.
pines, what would you recommend that what part of the barn would you use that on?
Anywhere you want to have 1 inch thick board. So like siding, loft decking, roof decking, that type of thing. You can use it for other. If that's your only choice, use it. just be aware that it could move on you. So be ready to replace a beam or to let it season for a few months.
So with red pine, your best scenario is to only use 1-inch boards, and your other best scenario is to use another species for the beams and all that type of thing to make your frame solid before you actually put the red pine boards on.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you wouldn't want to use it for beams or trusses. Or
You can. It's just to be aware that it's not as stable as white pine.
Okay.
It's like we could drive. I mean, if you went to the car lot, okay, and you found a Chevy and a Cadillac, they had the same miles, same year, everything's the same, tires the same, has all the same things. But the Cadillac is nice. I mean, it has air conditioning, it's got cruise control. Chevy, not so much. You got to roll the windows down, and you got a few annoying things.
Okay.
But they're the same price.
Uh-huh.
What are you going to buy?
They're the same price. I'm going to buy the Cadillac.
You're going to buy the Cadillac.
Yeah.
So it's the same with white pine and red pine. The white pine's a Cadillac, red pine's a Chevy.
Okay.
So you're going to buy the Cadillac if you can, but in a pinch, if you've got the red pine, the Chevy, then that's what you're going to use.
Okay.